3 of them in the gravel trap, so I don't think all 3 of them are going to get out of that gravel trap. Sam Osborne is the 3rd car in all of that, so that's one of the Ford Focuses out. Meanwhile, underbraking into the fog of the S's for the first time. On the hard tyre, remember, Tom Ingram keeping at bay.
Safety car deployed.
Sutton, and thanks, Alan, the safety car is going to come out. So down towards the Melbourne hairpin they go, and just in time, Sutton gets the signal, don't overtake, because the safety car's coming out, and he backs off out of the move and sits behind Ingram.
Lots of damage to the front of Senna Proctor's car in the gravel up there at McLean's. It was Aidan Moffat, the BMW, who was involved in that. He has now got out of the gravel, as had Sam Osborne, who was also off at that side of the circuit. We also noticed Jake Hill was losing positions over the course of that dramatic opening lap of round 23 of the championship. So just the one car up there at McLean's. Good to see Senna Proctor out of the car, and on the big screens we're going to have replays now from ITV of that opening lap, which saw Tom Chilton end the lap ahead of Tom Ingram, Ash Sutton, Dan Rowbottom, Dan Camish and Adam Morgan, Darryl DeLeon, Chris Smiley, Gordon Shedden and Aaron Taylor-Smith completing the top 10.
Since he came back into the championship after 4 years away, Senna Proctor has been in the points in every single race, 13 out of 13. That, though, has now come to an end. He actually got himself up into the top 10 in the championship, despite missing the first 3 weekends of the season. But a first DNF of the year for Senna Proctor, and where you finish in race 2 is where you start on the grid in race 3. Apart from those that get reversed, so it's going to be back of the grid for those 3 drivers for the next race. He went on the grass, did Senna Proctor, on the inside on the way into McLean's, and the car very quickly switched around on him. Sam Osborne was kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time and ended up picking up that incident because he was right behind Senna Proctor. And Aidan Moffat, who's had some bad luck this season, it has to be said, was in absolutely the wrong place at the wrong time. He was nothing to do with that incident at all. He was just in front of them, but as Proctor speared across the circuit, he out of control of the car, just clipped the back of the BMW, and Moffat tipped off into the gravel trap as well. So the Scottish driver, very unlucky with all that. Osborne was unlucky too, and Proctor, of course, who triggered it all, ended up in the gravel trap with, as you say, lots of damage to the front of the car.
Aidan Moffat's continued round hasn't come back to the pit lane, so you'd imagine that BMW has damage, but Aidan Moffat is going to carry on, as has Sam Osborne. So the 2 drivers who were picked up by Senna Proctor have both been able to continue, but recovery work has begun up there at McLean's corner. Now we're on board with Jake Hill, who initially made a decent start, but ended up dropping all the way down to 13th position. So what was the problem for Jake Hill, I wonder, on that opening lap, Chris?
Yeah, he lost out to Adam Morgan on the way through the first corner. We've seen a replay from the ITV pictures up in the commentary box. So it wasn't a brilliant start, but it wasn't terrible out through Redgate Corner and Hollywood. Then down through the Craney Curves for the first time, looking to go around the outside of Adam Morgan. Think about carrying the manoeuvre, and then Morgan sort of holds station, he tucks back in behind, and then he goes wide. So did he get hit from behind? Possibly.
Was Senna Proctor involved in that? Because he was wide and then slow up the hill as well, wasn't he? So I just wonder if the...
Maybe, yeah. You can see it from that angle. Yeah, the first guy to come past him was Chris Smiley, wasn't he? But you can't tell from that angle. But then he lost 1, 2, 3 places. Taylor Smith had already got past him. Shedden got past him. Shedden and Taylor Smith were then banging wheels on the way through Coppice Corner. Jake Hill tried to get back alongside both of them, which he did. But we'd put him on the outside line for the first part of the Fog of the S's, the left-hander. So there were 3 abreast into there. Taylor Smith made sure he got through ahead of the BMW, but Shedden got past both of them. And then because he got that second hit through the corner, he lost more momentum, lost 2 more places just before they slowed up for the safety car.
Because Proctor would have been around hill on the grid, wouldn't he? So maybe those 2 are interlinked, but the evidence isn't there, is it, to put it either way? Mm. But whatever the situation is, Jake Hill's much further down the order than he'd like to be, and Senna Proctor is out of the race, and damage to the team Virtue car that will have to be fixed for race number 3, and Senna Proctor coming from the back of the grid later on. But it was a pretty spicy first lap between our 2 championship rivals, wasn't it? Between Tom Ingram and Ash Sutton. There were a few instances of contact, particularly down towards the old hairpin, but Tom Ingram managed to hang on to that second place. Tom Chilton would be very disappointed with the safety car because he had an absolutely enormous lead after half a lap. Yeah, and he would have been hoping Tom Ingram could have kept them at bay, could have been the cork in the bottle for a few more laps and built up enough of a lead to negate the fact that the hard tyre is not as quick as those coming after him, potentially on the mediums. Getting a replay now of, from further back, that incident. Yeah, we've got Proctor just ahead. Proctor, yeah, you're right, it wasn't far behind. In fact, might have been the one right behind Jake Hill. You can't exactly see it from the 3 cars, 4 cars back.
But either way, Jake Hill, I think it feels a bit like a weekend of a missed opportunity for Jake Hill and for WSR, for the Laser Tools MB Motorsport team, because he was happy yesterday with how that car was running, wasn't he? And he said, you know, I think we could have been fighting for pole position, but then he had the lap taken away from him in qualifying, didn't get through to the final part of qualifying. Solid enough first race today, but that race, I think he would have been thinking, oh, at least a podium out of this. 3 cars ahead of me are on the hard tyre. I can get a podium, maybe I can get a win out of this. But in the end, he's been dumped down to 13th place, albeit they're all now lined up in front of him. Now, when ITV give us shots of people putting coats and ponchos on and umbrellas up,
spots
it usually
of rain.
means it's raining, Alan. Can you confirm?
Yeah, spots of rain just happening down in pit lane.
OK. Enough to worry about on a slick tyre yet or not?
It might worry them.
Yeah, it doesn't worry you.
I couldn't care less. At this stage, it's psychological rain.
Right, OK. The worst kind.
Looking behind us, Chris, maybe a little bit more than that.
Yeah, and it's going to be possibly different at different parts of the circuit, isn't it? So I think maybe on our side of the circuit, start-finish line, on the Grand Prix loop, some rain definitely. I think if you're up at McLean's and Coppice, it's probably bone dry still, isn't it?
And that's where the drivers are. They haven't yet got to this rain shower. But the safety car isn't at the end of this lap, so if we wanted to add the drama that we already had on that first half of lap, we're about to see that. And we've got Tom Chilton, who's been absolutely the man so far this weekend.
More than psychological rain now. More than psychological rain.
It's doing what Dan Rowbottom said it might do, is it? Right, OK. Yeah, it's coming, but it's not over all of the circuit yet. But is it enough to put a wet tyre on? It's worse than this yesterday, Josh, in Q2. Ash Sutton tried a wet tyre, and it wasn't as quick as the dry, was it? So I don't think he won't be too keen to dive in for a wet, that's for sure.
If you're at the back, maybe go for the pit lane now.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what
It's
happens.
worth a punt if you're way down, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Scott Stringfellow brings in the safety car, and that means we're about to go back to full race speed. Tom Chilton, Tom Ingram, and Ash Sutton, the top 3. Dan Rowbottom in 4th. Here we go, side by side for the lead of the race then. And who's going to get there first? It's going to be Ingram, but there's contact between Rowbottom and Sutton, who makes a magical save. But as he's veering left and right, then left across Redgate Corner, he massively delays Tom Chilton, who was right behind him, and had to stand on the brakes. So Chilton is going to plummet down the order. Sutton's going to lose a load of places as well, and that's brought Morgan up into 3rd place. More contact further back as Ash Sutton this time gets side by side and into Aaron Taylor-Smith. They both go wide through the gravel at the old hairpin. They both get back on the circuit, but this has turned into a bit of a disastrous restart for Ash Sutton. It's definitely a disastrous restart for Tom Chilton, and it's all worked out beautifully for the race leader, which is Tom Ingram. Dan Camish up to 2nd, Adam Morgan in 3rd, Darryl de Leon has shot up 7 places to 4th, Smiley's up to 5th, Shedden, 6 places gained, he's up to 6th place now. He's got through all of that.
And Dan Camish is sort of Ash Sutton's only hope now, isn't he? Because he's right on the tail of Tom Ingram as they go through the S's on lap 5 of what is now a 17-lap race. What about Josh Kirk? He's up to 8th position after all the troubles he's had so far this weekend. We sort of suggested at the end of Pit Lane Walkabout that rain could be his saviour, and it is certainly the case. It's 3 abreast in the mid-pack through the Melbourne Loop, but up front it is Tom Ingram and Dan Camish going away from Adam Morgan. But that shower we had is sort of
No more
passing
rain.
by.
It's gone.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. Yeah, sun brightening up now. Mikey Doble it was down at the hairpin side by side with Ash Sutton. There's more contact through the corner as they come out now. Mikey Doble rubbing wheels and trading paint with Dexter Patterson this time. They both fell behind Ash Sutton. Ash got in the nudge from behind. Cannonball, wasn't it? Rowbottom into the back of Sutton. Sutton into the back of Ingram, which sort of only served to nudge him on into the lead of the race. And Chilton massively delayed, lost 9 places with all of that. Down now into 10th place. Rowbottom is down into 11th place as well. Remember, Chilton and Rowbottom, double drama for them because they're on the hard tyre. So now they're on the worst tyre and halfway down the field.
Yeah, you called it absolutely right at the time, Chris. So Napa Racing team strategy absolutely went very wrong indeed on the restart of that. And for Virtue, it went perfectly, didn't it? Because Tom Chilton stepped aside for Tom Ingram, who now has Dan Camish looking up the inside through Coppice Corner on lap 6 of the race. So Camish in the Valvoline liveried Ford Focus is alongside Tom Ingram. Tom Ingram, is he going to let him go. Is he going to try and fight this out down towards the S's? He's looking to the inside, but Camish has got it. Dan Camish, the new race leader.
Yeah, really good exit that from Copies. He was on the outside as well, as you say, going into the first part of the fog of the S's, but he braved it, committed to the move, and the man from Leeds, three-time Porsche Carrera Cup GB champion, now leads the race, but Ingram coming back at him, almost side by side on the way into the Melbourne hairpin. Adam Morgan doing good things there in third place. Then that gap back to the first of the BMWs, which is Daryl De Leon in fourth place. Fifth place leading the Independents is Chris Smiley, and then Gordon Shedden in sixth position. As the sun now comes out, that rain has completely gone away. So Camish, Ingram and Morgan over the line. Ingram's got a good run over the line and down towards Redgate Corner. He won't be close enough to attack there, but he is close enough to get right underneath that rear wing of the Ford Focus. Meanwhile, the fastest lap of the race goes to the driver in third, which is Adam Morgan. Remember, Ingram's on the hard tyre here. Now, when rain's coming down, it's a bit slippery. You don't want a tyre that is hard to heat up, which is the hard tyre. So he's doing a fantastic job, as I'm afraid, into the pits with a radiator and grille full of grass is Max Buxton. So that Toyota heading in to get that cleared out before he'll be released back onto the track.
Race leaders up at McLean's corner, and Tom Ingram may have a bit less boost than those around him, but he's going to give this a good go on those hard tyres, I expect. Chris, replayed on the big screen of the battle between Josh Cook and Jake Hill that we had at the end of the previous lap, and I think Jake Hill was managed to squeeze his way past on the way down towards Redgate Corner. Meanwhile, the race leaders on lap number 7 of 17 heading down towards the Fogarty S's, with Dan Camish trying to get away at this stage from Tom Ingram, but it's Adam Morgan, the driver on the charge, the driver with the fastest lap, pretty much on dry lap time pace as well, minute 34.6, right behind his teammate.
And go down the inside on the way into the hairpin. Fantastic move. So Morgan just carried a huge amount of speed. I think that boost on coming out of the S's, and crucially slowed the car down enough to make the corner. So he now goes up to second place. All of the boost used up by Tom Ingram. That's why he's got that red light on the car, side window. White for Morgan means he's used it all up for this lap. Nose to tail, they go over the start-finish line. Morgan in second and Ingram in third place, but the inside line will be with Morgan. The Lancashire base driver holds on to that second place. It means De Leon's a bit closer to them in fourth. Then Smiley, Shedden and Lloyd are all close together in fifth, sixth and seventh positions. A reminder that there's a reverse grid for race 3, and the number of reverse positions is between 6 and 12. So if you finish between 6th and 12th in this race, you could get a reverse grid pole position. So at the moment, that would be either Shedden, Lloyd, Hill, Cook, Rainford, Sutton, who's 11th, or Taylor Smith, who's 12th.
On this lap, it looks like Dan Camish getting away from Adam Morgan a little bit as the two Team Virtue teammates were battling. And that's Daryl De Leon, who went backwards in race number 1, but is very much moving forwards in this, the second race of the weekend, and chasing after the two Hyundais ahead of him. So the BMW of Daryl De Leon in 4th position, then Chris Smiley 5th. Gordon Shedden is hanging on there in 6th. The recovery of Ash Sutton has seen him up into 11th position. Here he is on the tail of Charles Rainford and of Josh Cook. So we'll shout to see how high up the order Ash Sutton can get after that disastrous restart, which saw him firstly have that big slide after contact with Dan Rowbottom, and then further contact occurred with Aaron Taylor-Smith, and it is Taylor-Smith who is on the tail of Ash Sutton and keen to get revenge. Down the inside goes Aaron Taylor-Smith, a late move up the inside of the driver who is second in the championship. Taylor-Smith goes back ahead of Ash Sutton after that contact they had at the old hairpin, and there's quite a lot of damage after that to the front of Ash Sutton's car.
Yeah, I think that damage is holding him up. He's not making the kind of progress you would expect. The various hits that he had from the rear and then on the side on that restart lap. So Sutton walking wounded at the moment and just trying to get something out of the race if he can.
Taylor-Smith with the fastest laps. It's not just that Sutton is slow. Taylor-Smith is flying in that Toyota after that off at the old hairpin. Dropped him way down the order. He's back up into 11th already.
Well, he said yesterday after qualifying that he was gutted to have had his lap taken away because he's got a rocket ship of a car. He was really pleased with how the car was handling yesterday, was Taylor-Smith. So up to 11th place for him. Also gaining places, or a place on that lap, is Rowbottom, who's got ahead of Chilton for 13th place. That'll be worth a watch in race 3, Rowbottom and Chilton, because they're going to be on the medium tyre, if it's dry, with everybody else around them, or most of them around them, on the hard tyre. So Camish, 9/10 of a second ahead of Morgan. Morgan only just clear of the third place car of Ingram, and the one to watch is the one that's being followed by the ITV cameras at the moment, which is Daryl De Leon, who is on a good pace as well. He's on the same sort of pace as the car ahead of him, and if they start to fight each other for second, third place, he's going to be in there. Daryl De Leon was rapid yesterday, quick enough to get into the quick 6 in qualifying for the second weekend running.
Challenge for 7th position out of the S's. Jake Keel up the inside of Dan Lloyd, and through he goes. So up into 7th position now for Jake Hill as he continues to progress through the order. He's chasing after Gordon Shedden, who in turn is putting plenty of pressure on Chris Smiley on this lap. So the Toyota's coming really strong in this race 2 of the weekend after their troubles yesterday, Chris.
Yeah, plenty of action a bit further back as well. Lots of it involving Mikey Doble's had side-by-side action with Aidan Moffat. Moffat getting ahead of him at the hairpin, and then right behind him is Tom Chilton on the hard tyre. So Tom Chilton and then Sam Osborne, remember, had that trip through the gravel trap. He probably got a bit of damage to his car as well. So that's a good scrap that's going on into Redgate Corner at the moment. They're in the points as well. 2 of them are. Moffat in 14th, Doble in 15th place, and Chilton's out of the points now in 16th position with Osborne for company. We've got then the race leaders making their way through into that middle sector now, about to go up the hill up towards McLean's. Camish 1.1 seconds clear now of Morgan. A personal best lap last time around for Tom Ingram with a 1 minute 35.4, but it was still slower than Adam Morgan. So the gap has crept up a bit, and he's looking at the mirrors a little bit now as they're going to Coppice Corner, because Daryl de Leon in the white BMW getting ever closer. Already a race winner this season, remember, at Brands Hatch, and he's closing the gap as they come out towards the Fogarty S's. I think he'll lunge down the inside here, but he's going to start to apply the pressure at the end of this lap. Doing a phenomenal job, though, on that hard tyre is Tom Ingram, the championship leader, on a tyre which we reckon is about half a second a lap slower than the mediums. He's doing a fantastic job to be on the pace with everybody around him, really. So De Leon closing up a bit. Smoking tyres from Dan Lloyd just behind on the way into the Melbourne hairpin. He's now lost quite a lot of ground to the BMW of Jake Hill. Alan's got news in the pit lane.
Yeah, just a few track warning limits, so some of them are significant. Adam Morgan in 2nd place, he's been warned. Flash, who is in 6th place, Gordon Shedden, and also Tom Ingram, who is in 3rd place. They're just getting warnings.
And Shedden just went wide coming out of Goddard's as he came back into our view, which allowed Jake Hill to thunder past him on the run down towards Redgate Corner. But Shedden fought back at Redgate to get back ahead of him. So Hill was slightly ahead in 6th place over the line. They're still side by side now as they go out through Hollywood, and Hill comes back at Shedden. So 2 champions going wheel to wheel throughout the entire half lap so far. But in the end, it's the BMW at the old hairpin that comes out on top. So Hill, who was 13th at one point in this race, he's back up now into the top 6, Josh.
Yeah, great driving from Jake Hill, getting past Dan Lloyd on the previous lap and then immediately getting past Gordon Shedden, who made a mistake. Meanwhile, Shedden's teammate, Aaron Taylor-Smith, continues to make progress at Coppice Corner. On the previous lap, he got past Charles Rainford, so up into 10th position for Taylor-Smith, the driver with the fastest lap in that Toyota Corolla. And he is joining on the queue, which involves Josh Cook, Dan Lloyd, Gordon Shedden and Jake Hill. That group of cars head out of Coppice Corner down towards the Fogarty S's, where the race leaders already are. And the lead gap coming down on the previous lap between Dan Camish and Adam Morgan, back to less than a second. On this lap, that gap looks like it might have gone out a little bit. So it might be where the different drivers are using their boost, Chris.
Yeah, starting to wonder about Max Buxton as well. He's most of a lap down after his visit to the pits and thinking, will he get lapped by Dan Camish? But on the last lap, he was exactly the same speed, exactly the same lap time, 1:35.3 as the race leader. So Buxton, impressive with the speed that he's got. If he keeps that up, he's not going to be lapped by Camish, who goes over the line now. Morgan and Ingram and De Leon follow. Still driving excellently is Chris Smiley, leading the independents once again, and his teammate Dan Lloyd, who's 3rd in the Independents Championship, is his nearest rival. But there's 2 cars in between them, Hill and Shedden. So what's Hill going to do now to try and catch Smiley? He's 0.4 of a second behind him, and on that lap he was 7/10 quicker than Chris Smiley. So the laser beamer, I reckon, is coming. His next target is going to be to try and find a way past Chris Smiley. If he does get past Chris is still on for what would be now a 5th consecutive Independence class win. Aaron Taylor-Smith carrying the onboard camera, pushing hard in 10th place. Josh Cook on his return to Speedworks and the Toyota after missing the last couple of rounds with One Motorsport dropping out of the championship. Well, he's up there doing a great job in 9th place, currently in car 66.
And as you say, Jake Hill on terms with Chris Smiley as they go through Coppice Corner on lap number 12 of 17, but it's still the Independence race leader, Chris Smiley, who is in that 5th position overall. It's not drivers behind him, not necessarily rivals in that championship, but he'd like an overall good result as well. But Jake Hill, who has been gaining positions lap after lap through that big group of cars that are battling from 5th place down outside the top 10. Continues to be headed by Chris Smiley. Aaron Taylor-Smith, who a couple of laps ago got past Charles Rainford, had Rainford trying to come around the outside at the Melbourne Loop. The BMW driver fighting back, but at this point unable to get past ATS, but it might not be too much longer because Charles Rainford, perhaps on the boost, is absolutely flying on this lap, looks down the inside, maybe a tag to the tail of Aaron Taylor-Smith's Toyota. Huge slide for Rainford, though, who loses the car. So instead of gaining the place, Charles Rainford's going to lose positions because he's facing the wrong way on the pit entry.
He did well to keep it out of the pit wall, didn't he? He smokes the tyres, lights it up, spins it back around and rejoins all the way down the field behind Nick Hamilton. So back down to 19th place for Charles Rainford. And all the time that was happening, Jake Hill was right after Chris Smiley. He's almost caught him now. Get the replay from the onboard as all that happened, and the rear-facing camera showing that the eventual spin for Charles Rainford in that battle that he was enjoying. He's no longer enjoying, and he's now at the back of the field out of the points. So Hill on the charge is still behind, but not far behind Chris Smiley as they make their way up now through the middle part of the lap into Coppice Corner. He gets a really good run, Jake Hill, and now he's going to try and carry the momentum here and get the position potentially on the way into the Fogarty S's. Is he going to dive for the outside? Because the inside line is definitely covered. Thinks about it, tucks back in behind. Chris Smiley's one of the last of the late breakers, so he keeps him back. Chris in the number 22 Restart Hyundai on the boost now for Jake Hill, so he's going to draw alongside. That extra 80 brake horsepower counts. He goes into the corner much quicker than normal with that extra horsepower, so he has to brake really hard, but he brakes hard enough to slow the car down. He's past Chris Smiley, and that's another place gain then for the reigning champion. So Hill on a brilliant charge here from 13th at one point. He's now up to 5th place. Now he's got to get his head down and try to catch up to one of his teammates at WSR, Daryl DeLeon. Meanwhile, Gordon Shedden is going to be the next driver to try and come for Chris Smiley. Just gets on the brakes briefly before the main braking zone closes up, and smoking the tyres once again is Chris Smiley, who, remember, said to Alan after race one, I'm struggling in a straight line. We've got some sort of issue and I've got no straight line speed. Seems to be a bit better in this race though, doesn't it?
Good lap from Adam Morgan. He's down to 6/10 of a second behind the race leader, so 4/10 gained on the previous lap for Adam Morgan. I think he was using the boost, and now more laps remain for Dan Camish to be able to use that boost, and he's doing that on this lap to start to extend that lead margin out quite significantly over the first half a lap. Big lock up for Jake Hill going up towards McLean's. It's a big gap to the next car, so I'm not sure he's going to catch Daryl DeLeon. 1.7 seconds the gap, but he's trying ever so hard, and a lock up towards McLean's. Despite that, he's pulling away from Chris Smiley, who, as you said, has Gordon Shedden for company, and Gordon Shedden has 4 laps of boost left, which means he can use it on every remaining lap, where Chris Smiley only has 1 lap of boost left, so he's very vulnerable to the Toyota driver Gordon Shedden as they come down towards the S's.
Flashing of the lights for our race leader Dan Camish, because he is now starting to get pretty close to the lapped Toyota Corolla, almost lapped Toyota Corolla of Max Buxton. We had one kicking up the dust. Cook was it? Yeah, kicking up the dust coming out of the S's. Now Max Buxton moves aside, steps aside on the way into Goddard's and lets around him at the race leader Dan Camish. There's a dark cloud, menacing cloud coming over us again at this side of the circuit as well. So Dan Cam goes through. 3 laps to go for the race leader. Morgan, Ingram and DeLeon all get past the back marker as well. 5th place for Jake Hill, but he has now cost himself the chance, the opportunity to maybe get that reverse grid pole position up to 5th place. So that might be good news for Chris Smiley if number 6 is the number drawn out of the hat, because he is into that zone now.
However, he has no boost left for the last 3 laps, where the driver behind him, Gordon Shedden, had 3 laps of boost left. The battle behind, after Josh Cook's brief trip into the gravel, sees Aaron Taylor-Smith and Ash Sutton right behind the Toyota driver. Window wipers on the champion, the 4-time champion's car, and he's fighting to get back into the top 10. Alan,
it's raining.
It's raining. Psychologically or properly?
Oh, they're all going off at McLean's.
Properly. It's absolute cloudburst up at McLean's, and we've got several cars, 3, 4 cars off. Morgan is off. So Ingram has got off as well. So suddenly a proper cloudburst up at McLean's. You got half a dozen cars off, rejoining the laser beamer of Jake Hill, trying to get back on the track as well. Shedden's been off. What drama out of nowhere. That rain has come down and the safety car is coming out.
What Toyota is it up into 2nd place, unless it's Max Buxton who didn't go off? One of the Toyotas is the car behind Dan Camish. It must be Max Buxton who was the one that stayed on the track. It was indeed. So it's Max Buxton that stayed on track. It's Dan Camish that leads. Adam Morgan is 2nd. Gordon Shedden is 3rd. Chris Smiley 4th. Tom Ingram dropped to 5th. Daryl DeLeon is 6th. Josh Cook 7th. Aaron Taylor-Smith 8th. Ash Sutton 9th. Jake Hill 10th. So a real shake-up in what was an almost flooded circuit through McLean's and
literally
Croppers.
no warning. And it's just like somebody's turned all the taps on and it's thundered down with rain.
There's a disagreement who is in second place because Gordon Shedden has just overtaken Adam Morgan. So Gordon Shedden moves ahead of Adam Morgan. So I'm not sure if there's anybody that remained off of the circuit, but we've got replays on the big screens now as the leaders arrived in the rain, Chris.
Yeah, they were the first to get there, and then suddenly, absolutely no grip. For sure, Jake Hill went straight on here. The laser beamer just straight on all the way through the gravel trap. The restart, Hyundai went through as well. That was just behind him. Chris Smiley had a wild, wild ride through the corner, but kept going again. Morgan went off the road as well. Camish went off the road, but kept it going. And then Ingram went off the road. Literally everybody in the top 6 went off the road. Buxton, as you say, was the one that was that just been lapped by the top 4. Was kind of able to keep it going. But they just found zero grip when they got there. But great car control from most of them to get it back onto the circuit. Nick Hamilton is coming into the pits. I wonder if this is to have a gamble on wet tyres. Probably so. Nick Halstead, the same. So now, remember, he almost got an independence win here in changeable weather conditions a few years ago, Nick Hamilton. And actually, ironically, the other driver that's coming to the pit lane was the one that passed him on the last lap of the race, last corner of the race, basically, to get the independence win and steal 6th place. It was Mikey Doble in that case. It's Nick Halstead that's come in here. We've got the ponchos up in the crowd. You've got Dan Camish leading the race. It's going to become a 17-lap race because of these laps we've lost to the safety car, but no more than 3 can be added on. Final warning for track limits has gone to Gordon Shedden, but also to the number 80 car of your championship leader, Tom Ingram. So they've got to be very careful now. Although everybody exceeded track limits at McLean's when they suddenly had that downpour of rain. They all went off, didn't they? Which was part of the reason for that, I suspect. So Camish leads, Shedden is 2nd, Morgan is 3rd, Smiley is 4th, Ingram on the hard tyre, not ideal for the wet, is 5th, Dowdley on 6th, Josh Cook in 7th, Aaron 7th, well done, Aaron Taylor-Smith in 8th, Ash Sutton 9th, Jake Hill down to 10th place. He was the one of the lead group that went through the gravel that came off worst.
Stop raining now, nothing to see here.
The next lap will be the last lap of the race, Chris, because you say we started with 14, 17 is the maximum, so if the safety car doesn't come in...
It's not going to come in. No, lights are still on, aren't they?
So that's why most stayed out on slicks, because we're not going to get a race restart.
No, absolutely right. So, Dan Camish just has to keep it on the road now, basically, behind the safety car, which isn't, you know, the easiest thing in the world to do, even behind the safety car with 375 horsepower plus 0 grip and slick tyres. But he is going to win, he should be winning, his 200th race in the BTCC. It's going to be, surely, victory for Dan Camish on a circuit that actually owes him quite a bit. He's had some rotten luck here over the years. You go back to his debut, wasn't he, qualifying as a Napa racing driver in the Ford. And he had that car fire up at McLean's. Has lots of bad luck here over the years, but he's always been quick here as well, Dan Camish. So he driving very well. That superb Valvoline livery on the car. He's about to win for the 15th time in the BTCC on his 200th race start. Morgan in 2nd will be very pleased with the way he's gone. He's been quick all weekend as well. Shedden in 3rd place. What did Gordon start on the grid? He was quite a long way back, wasn't he, Gordon Shedden? 12th on the grid. Yeah, not too bad at all. And then Chris Smiley, well, he's done exceptionally well again today. So he's going to get the independence win in 4th place. And I tell you what, Tom Ingram, with everything that's just happened in that race, with the rain, with going off through the gravel like everybody else did, and with him being on the hard tyre, he'll absolutely take 5th place, especially as he's outscoring Ash Sutton again, who's back in 9th.
Going back to Dan Camish and your point, he goes well here at Donington Park. This will be his 5th win at Donington out of those 15 victories. A third of his wins coming here at Donington Park. That's as many wins as Ash Sutton has had at this venue. So quite an impressive feat. So is he going to become the king of Donington Park, Dan Camish?
Well, excellent stuff. Safety car then leading Dan Camish and the rest of the field into the Melbourne hairpin for the final time. Who else have we got in the points? Dan Lloyd, 11th. Aidan Moffat, 12th. He had some bad luck at the start of the race. Dan Rowbottom, 13th. Sam Osborne, 14th. And Mikey Doble, 15th. They're also going to finish in the points in the race. Somebody who finishes between 6th and 12th will get the reverse grid pole, depending on which number gets drawn out of the hat. But here we go. Behind the safety car, the checkered flag comes out, and Dan Camish wins his 200th race in the British Touring Car Championship. He's the winner of round 23 of the 2025 season. Dan Cam with a victory from Adam Morgan, who comes home in second place from, what was that, 7th on the grid as well. And Gordon Shedden from 12th on the grid onto the podium. When it rains in the 2025 season, Gordon Shedden usually gets something pretty mega out of it. He got the win at Alton Park, and he's got a podium here as the rain comes down with just a few laps to go. That proper cloudburst that we had up at McLean's and Coppice to complete the podium finishes, and another great result for Chris Smiley and Restart Racing.
Yes, that's right. Going back to the Gordon Shedden and Toyota point, 3 Toyotas in the top 10. I'm not sure if we've had that this season, but certainly something hasn't been something that's happened so often. So good work from all of those drivers at Toyota, because they were moving forward before the rain shower, really. But Gordon Shedden went off less than everybody else, didn't he, up at McLean's, and gained so many positions. He had that moment under the safety car where he and Adam Morgan contested who was second. When the safety car came out, in the end, it was Adam Morgan who takes that second place. Yeah. But for Gordon Shedden, he's 142nd podium in the championship, and well deserved, really well driven throughout that race to gain positions, and particularly when that rain shower came down. Dan Camish is kind of lucky to win it because he was way off the circuit.
Well, I think he went further off than anybody else, didn't he? I mean, he's so far off that he almost cleared the gravel trap and hit the grass beyond it. I think it's a good job he didn't get to the grass, because that would have been absolutely treacherous. But yeah, he would have had all sorts going through his mind and think, oh no, throw this away, what's happened? And then he would have looked in the mirrors and realised that everybody else had done exactly the same thing. I tell you what, it was mega control for them all to get it back on the road. But it's Dan Camish that wins. Adam Morgan comes through to second. Gordon Shedden in third, as I said. So numbers 27, 33 and 52. Then 22, Independence winner again. 4th overall for Chris Smiley. 5th place on the hard tyre, which is now used and out of the way, Tom Ingram, number 80. And another win in the Jack Sears Trophy for Daryl De Leon, 6th place. He's looking really good, isn't he, in his first season as a BMW driver in the Touring Car Championship. 7th place for number 66, Josh Cook. 8th for number 40, Aaron Taylor-Smith. 9th with a battered Ford Focus, Ash Sutton in the 116 car. And 10th, number 1, Jake Hill. Be very frustrated with that race as well. Just as he'd rescued some good results, really, having dropped to 13th, got back up to 5th place, and then the rain, like with everybody else, caught him out big time. So provisionally, Tom Ingram's got a 27-point lead in the championship over Ash Sutton now, with Dan Camish third still, but only 93 points back, having clawed a bit back with that race win. Dan Rowbottom didn't score any points, so 232 points. So he did score a couple of points for 13th place, but loses ground to Dan Camish, 4th in the standings. So, yeah, De Leon, excellent 6th place and winning the Jack Sears class to extend his advantage. With Sam Osborne 3rd in the Jack Sears Trophy, coming home 2nd. Dexter Patterson 3rd in the Jack Sears running. So Dan Camish celebrates start number 200 with win number 15, Alan.